Elias Thorne had always known his great-uncle Mortimer was a recluse, a man who hoarded secrets like dust in the corners of his crumbling Victorian manor on the fog-shrouded cliffs of Blackwood Point. When the telegram arrived, Mortimer dared the estate his. Elias dismissed the inheritance as a burden, not a boon. At 32, with a faltering career in accounting and a marriage teetering on divorce papers, he sold the house in his mind before the ink dried on the will. But curiosity gnawed at him. Whispers of forgotten gold in the attic, and so he drove the winding coastal road under a sky-bruised purple, the manor's silhouette rising like a skeletal finger against the sea. The air inside was thick with the scent of mildew and something sharper, like ozone after a storm. Elias's footsteps echoed on warped floorboards as he toured the empty halls, his flashlight beam slicing through veils of cobweb. Portraits lined the walls, stern ancestors with eyes that seemed to follow him, their gazes heavy with unspoken judgments. In the study, he found Mortimer's desk, drawers stuffed with yellowed letters and ledgers that chronicled not finances, but feverish ravings about the veil thinning and shadows that hunger. Elias laughed it off, chalking it up to senility, and retired to the master bedroom, where the four-poster bed sagged under layers of dust like a grave waiting to be filled. That first night, sleep came fitfully. The wind howled through cracks in the eaves, mimicking distant cries, and Elias dreamed of his childhood. Nights when shadows in his room twisted into shapes that whispered his name. He woke drenched in sweat, convinced he'd heard footsteps in the hall. Moonlight spilled through the grimy window, casting elongated silhouettes across the floor that seemed to shift when he blinked. Rubbing his eyes, he dismissed it as exhaustion from the drive. But as he lay back down, one shadow lingered too long by the wardrobe. A humanoid form with arms too long, fingers curling like smoke. By morning, the unease had burrowed deeper. Breakfast in the cavernous kitchen revealed peculiarities. A silver locket on the table, engraved with a thorned rose, containing a faded photograph of a woman who looked eerily like Elias's estranged mother, though she died in childbirth. Tucked inside was a note in Mortimer's spidery hand. The inheritance is not walls or gold, but blood. Beware the dusk. Elias pocketed it, irritation flaring. Another eccentric's joke. He spent the day cataloging the attic, unearthing trunks of moth-eaten clothes and journals detailing rituals to bind the unbound. As the sun dipped low, painting the room in bloody hues, he felt watched, the air growing colder, shadows pooling in corners like spilled ink. Dusk brought the first true intrusion. Elias was in the library, flipping through a tome bound in cracked leather, when the gas lamps flickered. The room plunged into twilight, and from the hearth, a shadow detached itself, not cast by any light, but born from it. It slithered across the rug, a formless mass resolving into a figure, tall, emaciated, with voice for eyes that wept tar. It reached for him, fingers brushing his ankle like icy silk, and Elias bolted, heart hammering, slamming the door behind him. Laughter echoed faintly through the wood, a wet, gurgling sound that mimicked his own voice. Desperation drove him to the village pub that night, where locals nursed pints and averted their eyes. Old Mrs. Harrow, with her face like crumpled parchment, leaned close over her gin. "Thorne blood's cursed, boy. Your uncle didn't inherit the house. He inherited the hunger. Shadows ain't just dark. They're the dead what won't stay buried. Started with your grand's gran, they say, who dabbled in things best left to the tide." She pressed a sprig of wolfsbane into his palm, her grip trembling. "Burn it at midnight, or join him." Elias fled back to the manor. The herb clutched like a talisman, but doubt festered. What if it was all madness, inherited like the sharp cheekbones and the insomnia? Midnight found him in the cellar, the air dank and laced with rot, wolfsbane smoldering in a brass bowl. The shadows converged, a writhing tapestry of limbs and faces, ancestors twisted in eternal agony, mouths gaping in silent pleas. They clawed at the edges of his vision, promising oblivion's embrace, their touch burning like frostbite on his skin. Elias chanted the incantation from the journal, voice cracking, but the smoke twisted mockingly, forming his own silhouette before his eyes. A hand, his own yet not, gripped his throat, and in that moment he saw the inheritance's core. Not curse, but invitation, a family reunion in the void. Smashing the floor, flames leaping to devour the shadows in a frenzy of sparks and shades. The manor trembled, plaster cracking like bones, and Elias fled upward, bursting into the storm-lashed night. Behind him, the house exhaled a sigh like dying breath, windows shattering in sympathy. Dawn broke grey and indifferent. The manor, a husk, silhouetted against the waves, its shadows fled, for now. Yet as Elias drove away, the locket warm against his chest, he glanced in the rearview mirror. There, in the hollows of his eyes, a flicker of movement uncoiled, a shadow smiling back. The inheritance wasn't escaped. It had simply changed hands, patient and eternal, waiting for the next dust to claim its skin.